Hey everybody, welcome back. So in this video I wanted to take the opportunity to talk about something that was rather important, as I'm sure a lot of people probably experienced it at some point in their life. I wanted to talk about peer pressure. So peer pressure in a lot of ways does kind of fall into the category of bullying a little bit, but sometimes it's not quite as in-depth as something like bullying is. But with peer pressure it tends to happen because you have this natural desire to fit in with people, especially if it's a group of people. You could be in this little circle of friends or like a group discussion, and they all have an opinion on something, and if you do normally disagree with them, you might feel more compelled to go along with what they're doing or agree with them on a topic in order to seek their approval, their friendship, because people have a natural desire to be loved and to belong and to fit in. So when you deviate away from a group of friends, a circle, it can really kind of put you on the outside of it very easily. And you don't want to be on the outside of that circle looking in. You want to be inside the circle in the discussion, part of their plans, part of their life. So if we look at something like peer pressure, with peer pressure, it's when somebody around you, usually somebody you're close to, they can become very manipulative and very tactical about trying to get you to go along with things you wouldn't normally do in order to fit in. So, you could politely and respectfully decline to be a part of a situation they're trying to talk you into. Normal, healthy friendship, they would respect your opinion, and even if they didn't entirely agree with it, they would probably listen to reason. They'd probably have at least an idea of why that you didn't agree with them or want to go along with them, and they would respect that, and you could still be their friend. You could agree to disagree. Life goes on. Well, in a peer pressure situation, they're more obligated to talk you into going along with whatever situation they're a part of. A lot of times it can be because it's something bad and they don't want to be doing it by themselves. Maybe they even feel guilty about it. And part of it could just be manipulation, where if they see your desire to fit in with them, they can try to take advantage of that. They can try to use that against you. And if you politely decline, they can try to still talk you into it anyway. They may not always take no for an answer. They may even get angry. Some people even get violent, whether it's verbally or physically. And sometimes it can even escalate into bullying. They can threaten you with ultimatums, like that they're not going to be your friend anymore. They could try to ruin your reputation. I mean, they, in some cases, could try to go to great lengths to try to get you to go along with whatever situation they're trying to talk you into for whatever reason. And this is why peer pressure is something very important that people need to talk about, because especially when you're younger, this stuff can happen very easily. High school, middle school age, especially if you have a desire to want to have friends or for people to notice you in a good way. You may go to great lengths to try to get to that point in your life. You may do things you normally would not do because so people will pay attention to you and love you because your desire for that is so great. And it can make you feel very vulnerable. And if for whatever reason things don't work out, or if you end up in a situation that you normally wouldn't do to try to achieve those things and it kind of backfires and you see that, that can be very damaging too. It can cause isolation, it can cause depression, sometimes it can cause active SI, and it can be very, very self-destructive. And there are a lot of situations that people have gotten themselves into, especially if it's kind of like one of those, like, hey, Susan, you're not acting like yourself. Well, if somebody who's younger, did you ever see if maybe the people they're hanging out with, did somebody try to get them to do something they didn't want to do? Did they make them feel uncomfortable? Did they threaten them if they didn't listen to them? You can see how peer pressure and bullying can oftentimes go together hand in hand. And sometimes it can be things like, certain activities, like if you have two kids that are, vandalizing something, or it can sometimes be with drugs or alcohol. You can have a group of friends that are smoking, and you may feel compelled to do it with them because they're all doing it too. They may not even make the person do it, but you just still may feel more compelled to go along with it because you want to look cool and be accepted by them. Or you can have situations where maybe you are offered something like a beer and you respectfully decline, and then the person doesn't take no for an answer. Sometimes it can also escalate even into sexual situations. You can be manipulated into doing sexual acts you normally wouldn't do, whether it's with somebody who's a friend or it could be in a relationship. There are a lot of relationships that people are in that they are pressured into doing things like having sex. And, maybe they don't think much of it at the time, but then they can get diseases or have an unplanned pregnancy and kind of the situations that follow from that. So don't be fooled into thinking that peer pressure only happens with a group of people. It can happen with just one person too. It can be a friend, it can be a stranger. Sometimes people you don't know can come up to you and try to offer you things like substances that are bad for you, or, somebody could they could offer to buy you a drink and you could respectively decline, and they could be persistent, and maybe you could think the person is just buying you a drink at first, and then they could maybe try to alter the drink in some way to try to hurt you or cause harm. And that's why there needs to be more awareness of things such as this, because it can escalate very quickly. You may think you're only going to run into that person one time. You could run into that person at school, at work. That person could learn things about you. They could ruin your reputation. They could threaten you. They could even try to get to people close to you, like your friends, your family. So being aware of these kind of things is very, very important for that reason. So if you're ever in a situation where you're being pressured into doing things you don't want to do, what are some things that you can do that might try to de-escalate the situation without the person getting more agitated with you? Well, in some cases, they may get more agitated anyway. I would think in some situations, if it's somebody who is maybe pressuring you and they're not entirely aware that because you can have a friend that's just being really pushy with you, they may not actually have bad intentions. Maybe you're at a party with somebody and they've had some drinks and they're trying to talk you into having some drinks with them, and oh, come on, just one drink, we're just having fun. Oh, come on, don't be a party pooper. Well, that's peer pressure too. It's on a more mild scale, but yes, that is peer pressure. And, you could be somebody who really doesn't want to have a drink. Maybe you have to drive later. Maybe you're somebody who abstains from alcohol for your own personal reasons. This person's not backing down. So you could, just let the person, you could try to use logic, like, hey, I gotta drive later, or, I'm just not feeling like it right now, or, oh, I kind of had a lot to drink last night, and I think I'm just gonna sit this one out. And if they're a good friend of yours, they should understand. They should hopefully back down eventually. I mean, they really honestly should after the first time, but, if we're taking the obnoxious drunk person into this scene, then maybe they're just in the moment. Because sometimes if you have actual, like, kind of logical reasons with, like, I really have to drive later, that person may be like, oh, yeah, you have to drive later. Yeah, I guess you don't want to do that. Well, sometimes it doesn't always work. You could still have the person that, like, in the scenario, come on, you can have just one. Well, sometimes you're better off just removing yourself from the situation if you can. Like, I mean, if this is somebody's house, maybe you can go talk to somebody else. You can step outside for a bit. So sometimes that can be a necessary tactic in terms of at least maybe the short term. If this is something that's recurring, maybe you can always reiterate. Like, let's say this person's name is Bob. I'll just use a random name. Look, Bob, I've told you many times how I feel about this. I abstain from alcohol for my own personal reasons. I know you're just trying to have fun. I know you want me to be a part of this group, but it really does kind of hurt my feelings and you don't respect my wishes, and it doesn't feel like that you respect me when you keep pushing this on me, and that really kind of hurts my feelings. Like, I mean, do you think that maybe you could try to just, set this one out? Like, maybe just try to respect my wishes. Really don't be too pushy like this. I mean, maybe the person will realize that they're being kind of pushy, and other times maybe not. Maybe they don't care. Maybe they will get more aggressive. So sometimes getting yourself out of these situations can be tricky, because some people might be more easygoing. If they're really your friends, they might, once they realize they're being a little pushy, they might actually kind of take it down a notch. But then there's other people where they don't take no for an answer. And sometimes those are situations where you do have to kind of let somebody know who can help you in this situation. Maybe sometimes you can have a friend in this situation that maybe they can pretend to distract you, like, hey, Scully, there's something I really wanted to talk to you about. Why don't we go talk about this? I really want to show you something real quick. Or if it's like somebody who's in high school, maybe they do have to get like an adult involved because they have somebody who's harassing them at school. Or if it's at school, maybe even some staff at the school involved, like teachers, principal, anybody who can really intervene in a situation. Because sometimes these situations like bullying don't go along on their own and they do require further intervention. But all in all, these can be very, very tricky situations. So really kind of watch for signs with people if they start kind of not acting like themselves. You kind of notice people kind of doing things they wouldn't normally do. Really kind of start asking them, like, did somebody put you up to this? Or are you feeling okay? What's going on? And really kind of see if you can try to dig deeper. Because sometimes people keep this stuff to themselves because they're ashamed. And this is something that we can really kind of raise awareness about. That way, people can find healthy ways to walk away from these situations and promote safety and really take care of themselves. So until then, have a great day, everybody. Have a great day.